Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating and somewhat puzzling stories from the Bible. Why King David, a man described as being after God's own heart, was not allowed to build God's temple. It seems like the ultimate honor, right? So why was David, the celebrated king who united Israel, denied this monumental task? Let's explore the reasons together. First, let's set the scene. David is at the peak of his reign. He has conquered his enemies, established Jerusalem as his capital, and brought the Ark of the Covenant into the city. He's living in a beautiful palace made of cedar, and one day, it hits him. He says to the prophet Nathan, "Look, I'm living in this luxurious house, but the Ark of God is just sitting in a tent." It's a noble thought. David's heart is in the right place. He wants to give God a permanent, magnificent home, a structure worthy of his presence. Initially, the prophet Nathan is all for it. He tells David, "Go ahead. Do whatever you have in mind, because the Lord is with you." It seems like a green light, a divine endorsement. But that very night, the story takes a dramatic turn. God speaks to Nathan and gives him a different message to deliver to David. It's not a simple no. It's a complex, multi-layered response that reveals so much about God's plan and his relationship with David. So, what was God's message? First, God reminds David of their history together. He says, "I took you from the pasture, from tending sheep, to be the ruler over my people Israel. I have been with you wherever you have gone, and I have cut off all your enemies from before you." God is affirming his love and his covenant with David. He's essentially saying, "David, our relationship isn't about buildings. It's about you and me." God had never demanded a house before. He had always dwelled among his people in a tent, moving with them on their journey. This establishes that the temple was David's idea, a human desire, not a divine command at that point. Then comes the first major reason, and it's a powerful one. God tells David, through Nathan, "You have shed much blood and have fought many wars. You are not to build a house for my name, because you have shed much blood on the earth in my sight." This is the most direct explanation we get, found in the book of 1 Chronicles. David was a man of war. While these wars were often necessary to establish and protect the kingdom of Israel, they still involved bloodshed. The temple, on the other hand, was meant to be a place of peace, worship, and reconciliation with God. It was a symbol of rest and stability. God wanted his house to be built by a man of peace, not a man of war. The contrast is stark. The foundation of God's holy temple couldn't be laid by hands that were, for lack of a better term, stained with the violence of warfare. This doesn't mean David was being punished or that God saw him as a sinful murderer. It's crucial to understand the symbolism here. God was making a statement about the nature of his temple. It was to be a sanctuary, a place completely separate from the strife and conflict of the world. David's son, Solomon, whose name itself means peace, would be the one to usher in this era of peace and build the temple. God's plan was generational. David's role was to secure the kingdom, to fight the battles. Solomon's role was to build upon that security and create a legacy of peace and worship. But God doesn't just say no. He turns David's good intention into an even greater promise. This is the incredible part. God tells David, "The Lord himself will establish a house for you." This is a play on words. David wanted to build a physical house, a temple for God. But God promises to build David a different kind of house, a dynasty, a royal lineage that would last forever. God says, "When your days are over and you rest with your ancestors, I will raise up your offspring to succeed you, your own flesh and blood, and I will establish his kingdom. He is the one who will build a house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever." This is the Davidic covenant, one of the most significant promises in the entire Bible. God is essentially telling David, "You want to do something great for me. That's wonderful. But I'm going to do something even greater for you." This promise points directly to Solomon, who would build the physical temple. but it also looks far beyond Solomon to a future descendant who would establish an eternal kingdom. For Christians, this is a clear prophecy pointing to Jesus Christ, the Son of David, whose kingdom will have no end. So, in being denied the chance to build a physical temple, David received the promise of an eternal spiritual dynasty. It's an incredible exchange. How did David react to this news? Was he disappointed, angry? Not at all. David's response is one of the most beautiful examples of humility and worship in Scripture. He goes before the Lord and prays, "Who are my sovereign Lord, and what is my family, that you have brought me this far?" He's completely in awe. He doesn't complain or question God's decision. Instead, he is overwhelmed with gratitude for the incredible promise he has just received. He understands that God's plans are far bigger and better than his own. He accepts his role in the story and praises God for it. This shows the depth of his character and why he was called a man after God's own heart. His heart was aligned with God's will, even when it wasn't what he initially wanted. Even though David wasn't allowed to build the temple, he didn't just sit back and do nothing. He became the ultimate project manager. He spent the rest of his life preparing for it. The Bible tells us that David gathered immense quantities of materials: gold, silver, bronze, iron, wood, and precious stones. He drew up the architectural plans for the entire temple complex, detailing every room, courtyard, and utensil, all as he said was given to him by the Spirit. He organized the priests and the Levites who would serve in the temple. He even composed psalms and organized the musicians for the temple worship. Essentially, David did everything except lay the foundation stone. He prepared the way for his son, Solomon, to have a seamless construction process. He took God's no and channeled all his energy into empowering the yes that was given to his son. He passed the torch, ensuring the project's success. He told Solomon, "My son, I had it in my heart to build a house for the name of the Lord my God. But this word of the Lord came to me. Now, my son, the Lord be with you, and may you have success and build the house of the Lord your God, as he said you would." So, to recap, why wasn't David allowed to build the temple? Firstly, because he was a man of war, and God wanted his house of peace to be built by a man of peace, his son Solomon. The builder had to reflect the character of the building. Secondly, and more profoundly, God had a better plan. Instead of David building a house for God, God promised to build a house, an eternal dynasty for David. This shifted the focus from a temporary, physical structure to an everlasting, spiritual kingdom. This story teaches us so much. It shows that even our best intentions and noblest desires might not align with God's perfect plan. And when God says no to one thing, it's often because he has a much bigger yes in store for us. It also highlights the importance of humility and accepting our specific role in God's grand narrative. David wasn't the builder, but he was the visionary, the warrior, and the preparer. Without him, Solomon could never have built the temple. Each generation has its part to play. It's a powerful reminder that our value isn't determined by the specific tasks we accomplish, but by our faithfulness to the role God has given us. David's legacy wasn't diminished because he didn't build the temple. In many ways, it was magnified by the incredible covenant he received instead. What do you think about this story? Does it change your perspective on King David or on how God works? Thanks so much for watching and for exploring this story with me today. If you enjoyed this video and want to dive into more biblical stories like this, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next one. We'll see you in the next video.